Hello, good evening, welcome. My name is Kwabena. Ah, welcome. I want to share briefly with you what I call how to build a productive culture in the business and among your employees. How to build a productive culture in the business and among your employees. The national orientation of a people, the things that they've been trained with, the general culture with respect to the work ethics, how people take their work, how seriously people take their work, how people link the work that they do to the development of a country, of the country, to their own development. I think makes it a bit easier for business people to have the the best of attitudes among the workers, among the employees that you have. I think the quality of employees that you're able to have as a business person, especially at the beginning, is so much critical to the success of your business. And generally, you are employing from the culture, you're employing from the same Ghanaians, the same people. How they work, how they work is so critical. How they take their work, how the sense of responsibilities that they have, how they see the work, the importance that they attach to the work. It has a lot to do with the stress level that you're going to have as a business person. The stress level that you're going to have as a business person. So my thinking is that if you have a company or if you start a business and you want the best of productivity, you have got to build it from scratch. You have got to build it from zero. The same Ghanaian that who you have employed here, who is not paying attention to the work that he or she is doing, let the same Ghanaian go to another country, which they believe in. They work differently. Somebody will say that, oh, but it's because they don't pay them well. I bet to differ. Because even in our own country, when they work with foreign companies that sometimes don't even pay them well and treat them well, they work. If you want your workers to show up, just bring somebody who is not a Ghanaian. And usually bring somebody who looks like, who has a different skin color. That person will not have to talk for them to sit up and work. There is maybe a colonial connotation to it. There is some kind of history to them. But as a business person, you have to decide. You have to decide the kind of culture, the kind of productive culture that you're going to build, or your business will not succeed. With the kind of people that we have, I will not talk down on our people, but you just have to face the realities. So you have to create the productive culture yourself among the employees and in the business if you're going to succeed. Especially if it's a Ghanaian company that they are working with and the company was started by a Ghanaian. When you employ a typical Ghanaian, depending on the category, usually you employ, let's say, between 20 and maybe 35 or 40. Majority of them are occupied with the thought that somebody else will help them to succeed. Very few link the successes that they are going to have with their lives based on the work that they are doing and how well they do it. Majority of them will believe that something somewhere will one day happen and they will become successful. Most of them have not been given the orientation that the present work that you're doing, the work that you are praying that you had, the work that you're doing, take it seriously. and do it well. It will not only help you to have some kind of revenue, but it will also make you as a responsible and a productive individual. That is not the normal orientation that most people have. And I dare say that is independent of the level of education that they have. Whether they have JHS education or they have MBA, it doesn't matter. Very few of them would link the work that they do to the progress that they are going to make with their lives. And so, you as a business owner, you must understand the perspective that they are coming from, the culture that they are coming from, the focus, what gets their attention, where their focus is, what is important to them. You have to understand their beliefs, because almost every one of them will tell you that, at sometimes at the point that you need somebody to show up and work, they will tell you that they are going to church or their pastor has called them something. This is a poor country, but this is how our workers work. So you have to just know how you're going to deal with this, because other than that, you'll be that much frustrated. So you have to understand the way they think and the importance they give to the work that they came for the interview. You didn't call them. They came for the interview. You gave them work. But after 1 week, 2 weeks, if you leave the culture like that, if you leave the work environment like that, if you leave everything as it is, it's going to be very difficult for you to succeed as a business person. So the same people who are occupied with, everything is God, everything is Nyame, when you ask them serious questions that you need their thought, they push it to some level where you cannot get the best of their thought, because for a lot of our workers, it is God, and they don't play with their church. They don't play with the things of God. Now, the same people, if you leave money there, if you leave products there, if they have the chance to come to work late and nobody will question them, the same people who are mentioning God, who are telling you that they are Christians and they read their Bible, the same people will likely pick the money, the same people will likely pick the product, and if they have the chance not to come to work on time and nobody will complain, nobody will sack them, they will not come to work on time. So these are the people that you are going to work with. These are the people that you have got to build the work culture for you to get the best of productivity. The work culture. And so what I think is that you would have to instill in the culture people being honest. You may not get 100%, you may not get maybe 80%, but it still has to be part of the culture that you're building as a business. That you tell them and you continuously emphasize that you need every one of them to be honest with the business. If they are at a position where they interact with product, they interact with money, you need them to have the best of the business at heart. Because if the business does not work, there is no business for them to work in. And so you have to help them. You have to train. You have to consciously have a model that you are training your workers to be at least honest a little. For 100%, I don't know. But at least a lot of them, you have to tell them that if you say, because they all profess to be Christians, if they say that they are Christians, then they have to represent what God stands for. And so, but they don't come with that. They're coming from a culture where if you confront them, they will not, even if they see somebody stealing, they will not tell you. A lot of them will want you to find it out yourself. Even those who are even honest. This is the kind of workforce that we have. And so you have to find a way of helping them to understand the consequences of such behavior. I don't know why it is prevalent here, but it is prevalent. And if you are going to have the business built and become successful, and at least for you not to be so much overburdened with all responsibilities, because you employ people for them to work and take some of the workload from you as a business person. You are not employing people just for you to pay them. You employ them for them to have specific duties and for them to work as if you were there. And so for them to work as if you were there, you want them to work effectively and you want them to be as honest as possible. You have to understand the culture that you are coming from. You have to understand the environment that they are coming from. You have to understand the way they think, the way they process information, and possibly come out with maybe some form of training every month or every week or every other week. Consciously discuss and train the people to say that if we behave this way, we cannot build this business. If we behave this way, we cannot grow this business. If you act this way, this business will die. You have had instances where people have started, finance companies, microfinance everywhere, or those kind of companies where the workers, they are there and they keep the money to their friends. They syndicate, they coordinate. Why is that rampant? They work in shops and they coordinate, they pick the product, and they do it at massive levels. The stories that you can hear are not stories from a people who have been developed, have been cultured to be strictly credible and honest. It's not like that. So maybe you are taking yourself for granted for you to believe that the people that you employ are coming to the workplace with some level of honesty. I think that you are safe to assume that they come without that, so that you can at least try to help them to see it from that point. The other thing that you are going to deal with is when they are working with you, they are still thinking that there is another place for them to go and work. Most of them don't take the present work as a place that they want to work for a period. They are there. The nature of our people, I don't know whether it's nature, but the way our people behave is that they are not happy with what and where they are. Most of them are not thankful at the place that they work. They don't come with that kind of thinking. They are happy the first few days that they get the work. Beyond that, they start to complain. They start to talk badly about the place that they work. They start to talk badly about the people that they work with. This is coming from the kind of development that they have had. Now, you as a business person would have to develop that. And you have to know that this is how they are going to behave. So when you pick 100, you know that maybe 98% of them 98 of them are going to behave like that. You don't get angry and you don't get disappointed. You don't get, what is another English word? You don't become sad because they behave that way. Every one of us behaves out of the culture that we know. And so when they come to the business place, then you have to help them to be present where they work. You have to help them to focus that this is where I'm working. And if I'm going to be here for 1 year, if I'm going to be here for 2 months, and if I'm going to be here for 3 years, 4 years, I'm going to be here present, making a contribution. Most Ghanaian workers don't behave that way. They are there. The next minute you see them writing CVs. They are there the next minute talking to their friends. They are there the next minute looking for some place to go and work. I don't know. It's a culture. It's a cultural issue where they don't pay attention and they don't seem to be that much grateful what they have at hand. Most Ghanaians think that somebody else has a better thing than them, especially if it's a Ghanaian company. So that attention is not there. And because of that, a lot of them will still be thinking of, I'm going to go back to school. I want to become better. I want to look for this position. That is what most of them. The other person who didn't have anywhere to work, who didn't have anywhere to sleep, they came to work with you. And now they have some kind of salary, they have been able to rent some place, they are working. They're still thinking that, I'm going to look for scholarship and go to Germany or Norway. I'm going to go to America to go and do my master's, they call it, or PhD. There's nothing wrong when whatever people want to do with their lives. You didn't make them. They are full human beings. They have the right to decide that. But At least I am thinking that people should have some sense of focus a little bit. But most Ghanaians don't have that. If you get 1% as a business person without you training them, you're very fortunate. You're very fortunate. They are looking for visa. They are looking to go and travel. They are looking to go somewhere. They are not seeing themselves as this is a company, especially if it's a startup, it's a first generation company that you are building and you employ a lot of these people there. They just want to use you as a mat to the room. They just want to use you as a stepping stone. And that's why I think most business people don't also employ most of these guys who have just completed school. Because their experiences are that when you employ them, they don't pay attention. They don't even see themselves as, oh, maybe I need something that I have something that this business has. And maybe I can make a more some bit of contribution for, I can be here for a while and make sure that this business gets to the next level. You don't get that. Usually why they show up is because they want salary, and that's the salary. That most of them is salary. So the Ghanaian typical work ethics is non-existent. If you're a business person, you are going to it doesn't have to take you a long time for you to recognize this. So that it doesn't create a lot of frustration for you. But if you build a strong, robust, productive work culture, because you have to lead that, there are things that you must demand. So that if you have 100 of them, and you happen to get maybe 30 of them following those things that you set, you see that your business will work. Because most of them coming have none of this. The productive work culture is zero. The attention is not there. They are the ones who have just finished SHS. If you have a job for them, the next minute they are looking for nursing school to go, or they want to become a police officer. Their families are advising them that when you get a government work, at least when you go to pension, you have somewhere to sleep or something like that. They don't know that the private business person can also pay the same pension for them. A lot of them are not conditioned to be proud of their work, especially if the business is small. And the attention is not there. If you pick a lot of them without training, you'll be frustrated. Your turnover will be so high, the rate at which they drop from the place will be so high. And so you have to have a strong built up training for them to see that the school that they want to go, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just a profession that they want. And the kind of work that you do, let's say you are into sales, this selling is also some form of education, some form of school that they can also become better. After all, when they travel to another country, most of them, even though they have degrees and stuff like that, the work that they do is really not the kind of education that they had. And they will put up the argument that, oh, they pay well. It's not so necessarily so, because our people don't become millionaires just because they travel to another country to work. So there is a constant conflict of thought for the Ghanaian worker. He wants to go to school. The next thing is that he wants to travel. He wants to travel to another country. And almost every one of them has some kind of family member who is trying to help them to travel, to get out of the country. And so when they are working, their mind is not there. They don't pay. They don't see that sense of responsibility to say that I'm an adult. For most of them, even if when they are 30, their life choices and decisions are still not being made by them. Those choices are still being made by an uncle somewhere, a brother somewhere, especially when they come from a family background that they don't have much. Majority of them, even in their 40s, their daily decisions are still being made by an uncle who is in another country somewhere. Why? Because they are the ones helping them to rent a place. They are the ones paying their school fees or helping their mother in the village. These are the difficulties that you are going to meet as a business person. And sometimes you cannot even blame them. You cannot blame them because, that's how they've been cultured. That's how they've been trained. That's how they've been brought up. Even the ones who have gone to school, you can get maybe a young girl who has just finished some university somewhere who wants to work with you. When she is ambitiously, committed, when she's committed working with you, you will hear the family pushing them. Oh, when are you going to do your postgraduate? When are you going to do your PhD? When are you going to do that? To the average Ghanaian, the focus is scattered. Yet these are the same people that you have got to build a productive work culture with. And so you must have a manual, you must have a training tool, you must have something, a culture that you have built that when they come, at least it will help them to move, to shift from where they are coming from. Or they will not work. And you have to be present every day for them to do what you require of them to do. And just as I said, it has nothing to do with their level of education. It has nothing to do with even the courses that they read from anywhere. We have had graduates work with us and they were as absent-minded as the one who just finished SHS or JSS. It also, because it's the culture, it's not the education. The education is so much not, I don't think that the African is really, I think the African culture is more powerful than the kind of education that we give our people. So the education is just maybe 2-3% of what they are made of. What really drives the people and the decisions that they make is coming from the culture, is coming from maybe the religion, more than the so-called school that they have. Until they've been able to, recondition, then the school will become somehow important. So if you have somebody who has employed, let's say a graduate, sometimes the way they think, you wonder, so did you go to school? What did you learn? How do you work? We have those questions because it is the culture which is deciding how they behave. And their mind is not present. Their mind is not present. And one of the things that has also one of the things that may have also contributed to this is the fact that they can always call somebody for support. You live in a country that if you can't pay your rent, you can easily call your uncle to support you. Or you can call your mother to support you, and they will do it because they take it as a responsibility. Or you can place a call and tell somebody abroad that you can't pay your rent, and people will even call you that they can't pay their children's school fees, so you have to help them. That is the communal culture that we have built. So people are responsible for their lives to a certain limit. They don't see themselves as this is my life, and if I have a problem, I have to solve it myself. And because of that, when they are working, the work that is helping them, because when you let them go, the next minute somebody will help them. Anyway, somebody will give some money to them, and they will even go and borrow, and there's no sense of paying back. If you so there's a lot that are on the mind of the Ghanaian employee. And for me, those things make them very much absent-minded at the workplace. And the only thing that they get to think about is when it is at the end of the month and they're looking for their salary. That is the green level. I mean, the people that you have just picked from the culture without you training. You can get a lot from the same Ghanaian if you help them with some kind of information. And so you tell them that if you're 18 years or above and you're working here, you are coming from a place where you are looking up to somebody to help you. That's why people get to 50 years, they're still waiting for their mother or their father to help them. Now, you have some kind of opportunity to start work early here. Know that you are responsible for your life. These are the things that you have to tell the workers. You are responsible for your life. Even if your father is rich, your father's success is not yours. You have to create yours. And so you are responsible for your life. And if you work here, we will demand this from you. And you help them to at least pay attention to getting results and becoming productive, whatever work that they do for you. And you don't put up with excuses. You tell them, if you give me 1, 2, 3 excuses, don't come to work again. Go and find another place that they will allow you to have this kind of excuse. As Ghanaian as we are also made up of the same thing. Because sometimes we just, be lenient and let it go, because we are also coming from the same kind of culture. So we are a bit humane, we are a bit more soft, and we are kind to people, and that is not helping them. So for you to build a productive culture as a business person, you must demand that the best is done, and they have to come to work on time. And if they are calling for sick, they have to let them go home. Or if they call that they are sick, at least they should bring some doctor's report and you should scrutinize it. Because we are quick to just, come up with any document to support our argument. And it's not only with the children or with the young people, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. The other day, the bank collapsed, and they are saying that a lot of the things that they came up with were things that were good. So that's the kind of culture that we are coming from, and that's the kind of culture that has made us be a people that are struggling to develop, because we must demand from our people to be responsible, and they must start early. So if you have young boys working with you, you demand that. For you to have a productive work culture, you must demand that they come to work on time. You must demand that they present the situation as it is. And if you find out that they are lying, you may warn them, and the next minute you may have to let them go. Sometimes the only way that most of these people will learn is by the pain that they experience. If maybe sometimes the help that you are going to give them, the only help that you may have to give them is when you let them go, because they are doing things that you are not comfortable, and you are doing things that are against how a productive culture is. So you must demand this, because they're coming out. Most people start to work at the national service level. And the national service level, they are around 18, 19, 20. When I was doing my national service, I think I was 22 or something like that. And maybe that was the first formal work that I had done, which means the work ethics were very lowly developed. Maybe with exception of what I was doing for my mother or for my grandmother. The first kind of formal employment that was about a year was from the national service in the country. So which means I was an adult, young adult, but I didn't know how to work and take instruction. So these are the most of them are going to come to the business like that. So he has just completed Lego. He knows nothing about how to work. You give him instruction, he wants to debate. You tell him to do that, he cannot do it. If you don't supervise, he will not sit up. If you don't call to find out that they should give you feedback, they will not give you any feedback. If something happens and is outside the work hours, they will not show up. And so you demand from them that your phone must be on. Yes, you have closed from work, but you have information that we will need. If there is an emergency, when we call you, you must speak. When we send you WhatsApp or something like that, you must reply. Because this is a small business. There are not a lot of things done and structured. So if you decide to work in this kind of business, we need you to give feedback. If I send you, or if I let you go somewhere to do something, I don't have to call you to ask for the feedback. Now, surprisingly, if you employ 100 of them, I can tell you that not one would have that sense of feedback. They can recall how to go and watch football. They can recall if they are not paid. But for them to work and give you information and give you feedback, it's not part of, because most of them think that they are working for you. Most of them think that it's the worry, it's the border. Most of them are just waiting for the salary. Anybody who works anywhere who is only waiting for the salary does not deserve to work where you're working. Because a young business, an entrepreneur, a Ghanaian business, you must build a culture that is so strong and sometimes super double than what you see anywhere outside. Why? Because you're building a business in a culture or in a business environment that is not structured. Let's say you are building a business in an economy that is well structured. There are a lot of things that you can do, and something somewhere will hold you. Here, any little thing will drop the business. So you have to do double than what other people are doing. And some of these things, your employees, you must demand from them. So the culture, you must demand that they are prompt, they are on time, you must demand. And a lot of the times they will fail, they will fall, they will not come through, but at least you're demanding it. You're demanding the report, you're on them, they know that you don't accept this kind of things. You must have that. And after a while, you see that some of them will live up to standard. Some of them will pick it so much that will be shocked. Because you eventually have to teach our people everything. If it has to do with productivity, if it has to do with work ethics, you must teach everything. Everything. If you lose guard, everything. Go and ask the people who have poultry farms. You put the guy there, you kill the birds so that he can sell them to another man. Their ingenuity is in the wrong things. I'm telling you. How to connive, how to plan to take that which is not theirs. It's faster on their mind. Or how to relax. It's faster than how do we work to make sure that this thing is working. How do we take a lot of load from the man who has employed us? That is not something that they come with. You would have to build that in the culture. So don't give up on them when you start to see those. It means that you are not training properly. But the moment you start to demand and to train, you see that they will be fantastic for you. So the generation really process a lot of information that are outdated. You know, our people are processing information that is not productive. And we've been taught over the last 3, 4, 5, 30 years with wrong kind of assessment when it comes to life. When it comes to life, people don't believe in systems and structures. If you put guys in charge of a project and you tell them that they should deal with this immediate boss, if they have your number, they will bypass that person and call you directly, even though you have told them that this is the person that you deal with. It's the culture. So they find it very uncomfortable for you to say that this guy is my mate. Why do you want me to report to him? No, they want to see you. And so if you don't set the structures well, your business will not grow. You yourself will not grow. You suffer. And that's why most business people, they can spend 10, 20 years and they still struggle so many years, so many times. Why? Because it is difficult for you to build structure around this culture. It's difficult. You are locked up in a culture that is unproductive. Any place that you see people poor and not paying attention to the things that are critical to their very survival, if anybody comes from that kind of culture, they are not equipped well. And I dare say that is where we are now. We are where it is difficult for us to follow structure. And if you don't do some basic structure, your business will not succeed. You will not have a work environment that is productive. You will not have that. You will not have that. And so some of the things that I want to go over, some of the things that you may have to help your employees with is that they are responsible for their lives. In spite of all the nyamibeye, all the prayer that they say they are praying, and those are religious beliefs. They are important, but they don't have to carry them to the workplace. The ones that you want them to carry is the honesty, is the diligence, is the excellence. It's not they come to the workplace to pray and to do those things. I don't subscribe to that. They have to be responsible. And they have to be on time. And they must know that the life that they are going to live, the results that they get out of their life is the one that they created themselves. Because when people have been taught to look up to God for help, they don't take that which is at present seriously. That which they are committed, the work that they do, they think that, no, it's God who is taking care of me. You know, some of the things that they have taught our people, that's why we are lazy. That's why we are not productive. So everybody is waiting for my own to be productive. They work with you. They think that until the business is theirs, they cannot be productive. There is no anywhere that you are going to be able to build any business if where you are not committed to the success of that business. It's not going to happen. Because where you are, that somebody else is taking the risk for you. You are lazy. How about the one that you are taking the risk yourself? They will kill you. So a lazy man cannot start a business. Forget. But when you are resource oriented, when you are committed to the work at hand, that's why you develop. Anybody that you have seen who has ever started any business and the business is doing well, go and check wherever they work. They were superstar. They were the best there. That's why when they step out to start theirs, it worked. But all the ones who were lazy wherever you were working, go and look for them. They cannot start a business. You can't start a business when the previous work you had, you were not winning. It doesn't happen like that, because it means that you didn't learn anything from that place. You didn't know much. It means that you were lazy. And if you're lazy, you cannot start a business. And so for you to build a strong, robust, productive culture as a business person, you have to help them to stabilize their thought and their minds. And a lot of it is you are responsible for the life that you live. Okay, your choices, your decisions, your planning, the things that you're planning, they are responsible for your life. If you stop waiting for magic somewhere and you focus on that which is at present, you'll be successful. And that a lot of the Africans should be taught. It's so difficult for you to tell them this because when the moment you say this, they think that you are saying that God does not exist. It's not God who does not exist. It's his principles that he has set in place. So when you're working, you have to work. The diligent hand, they say, will prosper. So it is part in your Bible. So the lazy man is praying for God to help him. The one who is not lazy works. The one who is not lazy, they work with their hand. They want results. They are committed to the work that they have. And the average Ghanaian does not come to any work with that. They come to work only for the pay. Even the ones that we have sent to anywhere. When you go to the banks, don't you see how they work? You can be in the queue for hours. Nobody cares. Nobody will talk to you. You go to any institution anywhere, you see the way the people work. There's no productivity. Nobody has set the place to be productive in terms of the work. You go anywhere. Go to any place in our country and look at the productivity level there. Somebody is on the radio listening, somebody is chewing gum somewhere, somebody is on the phone, somebody else is doing his business somewhere, he's selling shoes whilst he's at work. This is how the people work. So the productivity, if somebody were to take the index, you see that we are very low as a people. We work maybe from Tuesday to Thursday. The Monday, most people don't work. Friday, they are going for funeral. Saturday, they are at the wedding station, the wedding place. Sunday, they are in church praying to God. So people like that cannot prosper that quickly. So when you see a country that wants to develop and productivity is that low, it will take a lot. And that's why people are praying for development. Because development is work, it's not prayer. And so they will come to the same workplace that you have, the business that you have created. They will come with the same kind of thinking. They will think that when you work hard, it means that you don't believe in God. That is not true. So you help them to think like that when you come and we give you work, we demand that you produce results. And it's constant pressure. If you cannot survive, don't stay here. Go home. There is another person who will be very much comfortable to work. But when you accept to be here, we didn't put any gun on your neck. So if you accept to be here, then you must produce results and you must demand that. And there's nothing like no. If you say they will collapse the business. And if the business collapses, they will go. And the debt and the problems will be with you. You put the guy in charge of the project, demand that he does the right things. If he is stealing, which most of them would steal anyway. Because the work ethics, the value system, the character not to steal, most of them don't have it. I'm sorry, but that is the experience that I've had. You may have to help them to develop this. But the society does not demand that from people. You rather beg for the wrong things that people have done. But we don't train them not to do the wrong things. And we don't even encourage punishment. When the person has done something wrong at the workplace, you try to punish them or try to sanction. And you see that every one of them will come out and beg for that person. And yet all of them, or some of them may have seen when the person was wrong. Until you demand that from your workers, that when somebody is wrong, don't come and beg for them. Make sure you encourage them to do the right thing. That culture will not be part of your workplace. And if that culture does not exist, you don't have a business. Where they're able to link their actions to productivity. When they're able to link whatever decisions that they are making to the success of the business. Their actions must support, must connect that. And it's very difficult for you to establish this. Very tough. Because people have lived for 30 years and they just came to work with you for 2 months, 3 months. It is not, technically, it's difficult for you to demand productivity from somebody who has been brought up in an environment that is very much relaxed and not that much demand is placed on them. And so you must demand that, and you tell them that, listen, if you come here, you are only going to get ahead because you are productive. You're productive. You don't promote people because they came with degree. You promote them because they get results. If their degree is helping them to get results, the better. But they must produce results. And that's one of the things that has made, that have made most of our people, they don't believe in productivity and responsibility. They believe in degree and paper. So when they are working, they are not looking at how they can become effective and grow. They're looking at how I can go back to school and get a degree and get a certificate. And when they have the certificate, they are not productive. They don't. So it's a tough situation for a lot of entrepreneurs, and that's why I think most businesses struggle, because it's so tough for you to get them to condition their mind to be effective. You need that mind of them to be effective, to be present, and to be committed to the goal of the business. And it takes a lot of effort for you to establish this. That's why most of you meet any business person, you say, it's difficult for you to get somebody who can do the work well. Yes, it's difficult because you have also not built something. You've not built a receptacle, to get them. You built a structure, you built a culture, because the culture must be so much robust, far more robust than the culture that they're coming from. The business culture must be that strong that when they are there, it strains them. It takes a lot of the things from them so that they can get the results. Because until you have established that culture, you cannot get the productivity that you're looking for. And that culture is a responsibility. That productive culture as a business person is a responsibility. And it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of input for you to have this culture that is productive. Then your business will succeed. Other than that, all the stress, all the pain, all the struggle will be on you as a business person. And you may end up giving up, or you may end up working alone all your life, because it's difficult. It's difficult. And so you help them to focus. You help them to focus, and sometimes you may have to help them to put their financial knowledge properly, because most of them are coming from a background that the financial knowledge is weak, very weak. Because most of them, the only way they understand money is that when you get it, chop it, and that's it. Work for money and chop it. And when they see somebody with a car, with a house, they think that person is very rich. That's how we are. That's how we define success. We define success by the house that somebody has built. We define success by, the car somebody else is driving. Majority of them don't define success as in the cash flow that is coming to the person. So you have to help them that the money that they're receiving, they must have a plan for it as well, and they must be disciplined to control the flow in and the flow out of their own personal finances. You may have to talk about it as a training, so that, because once they can get their money organized a little, I'm sure that some other thoughts, other parts of their lives may get organized. And they are infatuated with traveling. That one, I don't know how you help them, but at least talk about it, that you can succeed anywhere if you have the basis rightly. Because when we were all growing up, those are the things that they told us, that you have to travel to all these countries. And until you go there, the other time I had a carpenter come to look something for us, and this guy is about 40 something years, getting to 50. He said that he's preparing to travel. Now, this is a master. He's preparing to travel so that when he gets there, he will be very rich. It's a wounded information that we grew up with. Wounded. It's hurtful, but he doesn't know it. And so he's working, he's not present, he's not saving the money, he's not planning, because he's waiting one day that he'll go to that country that they say when he gets there he'll be rich. And so almost all the people who come to work with you, this is what they're coming with. Few of them will come knowing that this is where I want to build my life. A lot of them have never decided where they want to live. They want to live in Germany, in America, in England, in Italy. Africans, that's where they want to go. I'm sorry, but this is it. Very few of them have said that I'm not going anywhere, I want to work. And so when they get the work, they're conscious. You have to help them. And some of them, that's the conversation that they have at the workplace all the time. America, so somebody whose thought is like that, it's difficult for them to be present and for them to commit to productivity. It's difficult. And these are challenges that we have. Some of them are also looking for profit all the time to tell them something. Superstition is very highly placed in the culture. When they come to work, must help them to reduce distance. Say that when you come to work, you have come to work. Our results is directly linked to our productivity. The things that we do, the right decisions that you're making. Those are the things that are determining the results of this business. Nobody is responsible. We are responsible. You know, we are responsible. Even if we believe in the supernatural, which we do, we believe that that supernatural will empower us to make the right choices and the right decisions. That's how we believe, you know. So we are not waiting for somebody else to be responsible for the results. We are responsible for the results. So when they are working, they know that the results is ours. So if it's 2, it's not the demon who made it 2. And if it's 50, it's not the demon which made it 50. It's us. So the more we are committed to the structure, to the systems, to the protocols in the business, and the things that we are committed to, the things that the way we do the things that the business does well, that's how we are going to succeed. And this is something that they will tell you that the man is not does not believe in God. So you have to help them. You have to help the people to look at life from a realistic position. From a realistic position. In that case, when they are working, they will be at good. Right. And then you may have to express humanity. You may have to express kindness. They should feel respected, and you have to talk to them well. And you have to build the confidence of your team. Let them be able to stand up and ask questions, and even sometimes challenge the things that you put up, and treat them like full colleagues, full human beings, same status, colleagues that you can smile, you can create jokes with, they can bring up their thoughts, and they don't feel like they are intimidated. If they are intimidated in your presence as a business owner, you have done a very bad job. They should have that sense of respect, but they should not. Their confidence should also be high for them to see if something is wrong. They will be very, very much comfortable to come to you and say that I think this is not right. This is the kind of things that you want the business to have, the business culture to have. If you don't do that and you create that fear and that structure like that, the business will collapse, because then they don't have the confidence to even see something and say it because it's going wrong. And then you sit on creativity, and in that case, you sit on a lot of creativity and innovation, and you don't get the best of your team. You want them to be full human beings, you know, because everybody is gifted differently, and they may see some things that you don't see. And these are some of the cultural, you know, productive cultural elements that you have to put in place as a business person. As a business person, you have to. And I think the same thing can even reflect to a nation building. If in the country, when all your best are traveling, you have a problem. When your best are all going to go and do PhD, you have a problem. When your best are looking up to God for resource, you have a problem as a country. And that's the culture we have now. And when they are not confident to question the status quo and the authorities, when they feel like they don't have that humanity, that sense of right to also ask questions and make their own decisions and their choices, and live with the consequences if it's not something that is prevalent and widespread. That is a challenge. So that's not the kind of culture or productive culture you want to build. You want to build that one which let everybody be human, confident, courageous, committed to the business dream, and be present where they work with you, and work with ethics, with character, and have some sense of respect for the team, for the work, and for everybody. You know, and it's a tough task that all of us must look at if you're going to build anything. If you're going to build anything, and there should not be anything where you promote tribalism, you promote, you know, you think that the men are wiser than the women. No, no. You make sure that human beings are human beings. The tribe does not matter. You don't need tribe. You just need people to be responsible and productive. And if you see people trying to connect with their tribe people, you break that. You tell them, no, everybody is a human being, and we work as a team here. These are the things that you promote, and if you do that, you see that your people will be productive. And so, you look at things that you can use to prevent waste. If their decisions bring a lot of waste, a lot of losses to the business, the culture must be resistant enough, you know, to reduce losses and waste. And we should be time conscious. We should know that the time we put in has a lot to do with the results that you are going to get. And if you don't have the results that we have, if you are not meeting the targets, we should all be disturbed that we are not meeting the target. And you should get to them. When you get to any place of work where people are not meeting any target, or if they don't meet the target, it doesn't worry them. It means that they have built a very bad, unproductive work culture. The company will not grow. It will not develop. It will not develop. And where they cherish being honest and truthful. This is what I think can help you to build a productive work culture in a business and among your employees. And maybe you may be able to build a business where a lot of people will at least get to work and be proud that they work with you for 20 years, for 30 years, and they became successful, and they became rich, and they became, people as well as you. So you don't succeed alone, you succeed with the team. So thank you very much for having time to watch. Thank you. Thank you very much.